You're listening to I Am a Pain Patient with Mary Ann. Good morning. Welcome to I Am a Pain Patient with Mary Ann. Today we are continuing our discussion on the power of perspective. And this is a vitally important topic today. We've talked this week about the effects of long-term inundation with cortisol, a stress hormone. And it's very important to pair that information with the message of today, which is the power of oxytocin. There's a beautiful TED Talk given by Kelly McGonical, who is a clinical psychologist. I will link it in the notes. And she talks about the power of reframing how we view stress in our overall health and wellness. Now, it is no mistake today that we're talking about oxytocin, and my youngest daughter is underneath the desk kind of playing around. She's had a really stressful morning, and so she is kind of clinging to me. And I think that's a really beautiful example of the power of oxytocin. Our babies, when they're very young, they crave that physical touch, that contact. And I think it shows just that a demonstration of that natural way that oxytocin buffers the effects of stress. So in the TED Talk given by Kelly McGonical, she talks about living her career preaching that stress is bad for you. And then coming to find out that the more we think stress is bad for our health, stress is dangerous, stress is detrimental, the more detrimental it will be. So it's one of those self-perpetuating cycles. And so to break into that and strip it of its power, we need to reframe how we think about stress. Kelly McGonical goes on to talk about oxytocin. And oxytocin is a natural stress hormone, just like cortisol. Oxytocin is also known as the cuddle hormone because it is released when we have moments of connection with others. It is released when we're touching somebody. And again, for all those who are watching who have had babies, in the labor and delivery process, if you're struggling to progress, your doctor may start a Pitocin drip. And if you look at the Pitocin bag as it's dripping, it says oxytocin on it. So Pitocin is really oxytocin. So your doctors give you an added boost of that oxytocin stress hormone to help buffer the effects of stress. So oxytocin's role in its relationship to cortisol is that it becomes a buffer. So it attaches itself to cortisol hormones and it buffers the effects of cortisol on the heart and on the body. And so it allows us to create a biology of resilience, a biology of courage. Now, previously this week, we talked about the symptoms of living for long periods of time with increased cortisol stress levels in our life, in our bodies. And one of those side effects is low libido. Now, not everyone in a stressful time of life has the ability to reach out and engage in intimacy. Myself, when I was going through my chronic neck pain journey, I was single. I was not dating anybody. I was very alone. And so I had to find my oxytocin in other ways. Hugs with friends. Hugs with my parents, my family. Sitting next to my nephews on the couch watching a movie. Just like that power of closeness. Now, in the fight or flight mode, that low libido is a natural consequence because if you're in fight or flight mode, your body does not think it is important to procreate. Now, if you are in a loving relationship with a partner and intimacy is an option, the way to reframe your brain on this is that saying yes to those moments of intimacy, while it may not be your natural tendency due to your increased cortisol levels and the fight or flight mode that you find yourself in, those moments of courage can lead to an increase of oxytocin in your system. It can lead to an increase of that oxytocin hormone that buffers cortisol and buffers the effects of cortisol. So if you resonated with the content this week regarding the long-term symptoms of cortisol, examine your life and see where you can infuse oxytocin into your day. I know, as a married person now, how vulnerable it can feel to reach out to your spouse or partner. How hard it can feel to extend yourself in that way. Because there's always that fear of rejection. Even in a loving relationship, there's a fear of rejection. And so to surge forward and choose connection is truly courageous. And Kelly McGonical in her TED Talk talks about how oxytocin produces the biology of courage. And I think that's such a beautiful term to think about our biology and having a biology of courage. Because a lot of us think courage is just like, that will to just go forward and do it anyway. And it is. It is. The will is definitely involved in that biology of courage. But it's so beautiful to see that your body's natural resources are created in such a way that that biology of courage fills us up and it's like effective in our bodies. And just changing how you view stress can change your overall health and wellness. I don't want to discount any of you who are struggling or have been struggling for a long term with increased levels of cortisol, with that persistent pain life, with illnesses, with things like fibromyalgia where you can't really change it. I don't want to discount your feelings. They're vitally important. All I am recommending today is that we try to pivot our perspective in a valuable and powerful way so that we can become intelligent sufferers. So in times when our body's flared up, when maybe like the last thing we want is our child to cling to us, when maybe the last thing we want is our husband to rub our back because it's just, everything hurts. Try to embrace that biology of courage and allow yourself to take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out, and say yes to that embrace. Say yes to that touch, that non-sexual touch, that just power of presence. And allow the power of the presence of the people in your life to fill you up, to enliven you, and to continue that biology of courage that is naturally built into our bodies. So exciting. Okay, so please watch the TED Talk by Kelly McGonical because, as I said, she is going to say it way better than I ever could. But the powerful message today is that pivoting your perspective can be incredibly powerful in your journey combating chronic stress levels, chronic cortisol levels, because we want to meet that with oxytocin and the power and biology of courage.